Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I got to say it. He's back. I'm back with John Borshoff. For those of you that remember, back in September last year, I did an interview with him, and it was all about uranium's time to shine. And really, I talked to John about uranium, its background, and why all of you out there needed to take a look at uranium. Rick Rule was saying that it's a contrarian investment. Look, don't bet your house on your children, but you've got to have a look at it. Now, John Borshoff is known as the father of the uranium industry, formerly did lots of good stuff with Paladin. And as I said at the start of this, he's back with Deep Yellow. Lots of great stuff coming out. John Borshoff, welcome to Small Caps. Great to see you again.
Great to be back, Kerry, and I'm looking forward to the next 20 minutes or so.
John, you've had a really good announcement today. That's why I'm excited to talk to you. Let's give our listeners a little bit of, before we go into today's announcement, a little bit of information about Deep Yellow, who you are. You've got a great asset in Namibia, but you've got an announcement out today. But let's just talk a little bit about who is Deep Yellow.
Right. So we're an ASX listed company, obviously. The company's been around since 2006. I came in and took over the management in very early 2017 or November 2016, and chose this company as my vehicle for achieving some of the things that I believe were essential and to get real shareholder value into the company through the uranium sector. And on that basis, it was still a contrarian play. Deep Yellow is one of those companies with $4 to $6 million at that time, and it had assets, small assets in Namibia, but no vision or to know what to do with these assets, which in the next 10 minutes or so we'll see that what was actually lying beneath the ground there. So on that part was developing the uranium assets in Namibia, of which we have two projects, the Reptile 100% owned, and a joint venture with the Japanese and Toro in an adjacent property where the Japanese spent $4.5 million, and we discovered a very promising prospect there called Barking Gecko. So and that's sort of at early stages. Let's see what happens. But we're excited about that as well, and extremely excited about the PFS or pre-feasibility study results that we've announced this morning. And these results, so that's the other aspect to our company is building a pipeline, and through acquisitions, and we've been exploring that very intensively. Under the radar, I would have liked to have had a project under my belt now, but for reasons I can't explain here, it's taken a bit longer. But nevertheless, there's a bag full out there that we believe will get something in. The third asset here is the exploration team. Not the exploration team, the team. It's truly unique in the sector, and that is endorsed by the fact that this milestone we've achieved. It is the only company that has identified a new opportunity from zero, from virtually a blank canvas, and 4 years ago to something that is formidable today, and progressively evaluated through a scoping study early last year, completed to a very competently completed PFS because of the team behind it and our familiarity with that region, with uranium and with Langer Heinrich, which is a similar type of deposit. And so the team is really important. And
John, if I could just stop you there for a moment, because the team, a lot of the people that you've got with you have come from your time when you were at Paladin, and the Langer Heinrich asset was also in Namibia. So it's an area that you know well. But I have to ask you this question, because Deep Yellow's been around for a while. They've had this asset for a while. They've spent, I'll be polite here, a lot of money. What I want to know is, what did you see that, you know, here's a company that had spent a lot of money, they've not found anything. What did you see? And because we're going to talk about this, you've done a pre-feasibility study, and on the Reptile project, you've had a very positive outcome. It's got impressive economics to it. What did you do that the previous management didn't even see, and actually probably encouraged you not to go and look for?
So that's a good question, actually. Basically, it's come from, we understood what the Langer Heinrich deposit was like, which is on an adjacent drainage system. And we know how these systems sort of create, and how the system, once it works over the expanse of a whole palaeochannel system, that it can actually breed uranium. And in the adjacent property, which is now Reptile, where we've completed our PFS, they had a similar big drainage channel, and they spent 20s and 20s of millions, identified these sort of what I call trees of discovery, a tree here and a tree there, and never looked at it to sort of join the dots, do some real analysis, try and identify the carrier of this uranium. And it was actually a 125 kilometre long palaeochannel, which we identified with existing data that they had already flown airborne, and then in amongst the 30,000 holes, 750,000 metres of drilling. And you think, oh, what can you find in amongst all this? Well, we found, we grew the deposit by 3 times in 4 years. Our discovery rate, as we were talking earlier, 11.5 cents per pound discovery through the drill bit. What a fantastic value add for shareholders, and it was all with the purpose of getting to where we thought we would achieve, and it's proven. The palaeochannel is highly fertile. We've only checked about half of it so far, with that 110 million of resources, and we got another. That's an exploration upside outside the PFS and the DFS. So that's there, but even within the existing string of pearls that we've identified now, that have got connectivity by being in the same channel, is what we took the gamble on, and not many people believed us that this could occur, and here we are at the beginning of what will be a major project in Namibia.
John, you've had many years of experience in this sector. As I said, you've completed the Tumas pre-feasibility study. You're actually going straight to a DFS. That tells me that you've got enormous confidence in the fact that this has got great, robust economics around it. Could you just talk a little bit about what you see with this in all of your years of working in this sector? What is this showing you, and the shareholder value around it?
So essentially, we've got to look at it through the geological and the expertise of that part of my team that understands these deposits and where we're going with that, and that is the building of even more resources from the exploration side beyond what I call now the engineering side of the project. And so I sort of see that we have a looking at it in that context, if you look at it as a stepping stone, and having achieved the beginnings of discovery, and that discovery then you could actually implicate it throughout the whole channel. In parallel with that, in September 2019, starting off with a scoping study, which was say, oh, look, we can look at a scoping study now based around a model that could be a 10 to 20 year project. Oh, too early, So we established that. We gave our assumptions, what we needed. The board was convinced, and we started the PFS and delivered on that. and delivered on the sense in what is a PFS? A PFS is a body of work that can either be, if it's a finite opportunity, built around that, or it's a study that tests new processes or processes for test work that will be there to be followed up in a DFS, and also to establish that there's a reserve base there that is able to be a resource base that is able to be converted to reserves. So what we did is we only tested half of the inferred resources because we're not going to spend a huge amount of time drilling and blowing everything on drilling all the inferred into indicated, and then some of that test work beside would be sort of failing. So we would have a project out of balance. So we identified half the resource into indicated, of which then it went into reserve, and did all of our test work, lots of options explored, and when we join those together, we have what I call our half project, which is the 11-year. But all of the signs we can increase on the reserve base, because we established on this remarkably consistent mineralisation that there's a conversion of 95% from inferred to indicated, and a conversion, it appears, about 60% from indicated to reserves, and in this remaining area that we've got, with identified inferred for the DFS, we'll be tackling that, and then coming up with instead of an 11-year model, hopefully a 20-year plus model, and where all the numbers and the financial rewards will even be better. So,
John, have you even surprised yourself? Because going into this, with everybody telling you that, and knowing how much was thrown at it before, and I'm going to talk to you in a moment about your dual strategy, have you surprised yourself with the results and the outcome?
Yes, look, we didn't think it would be so easy, if you like, and I don't want to use that word lightly, in terms of, in the first 2 years, we were announcing some incredible increases in the inferred resources that we were discovering. And that then brought forward the consideration that we got a lump of resource, and in parallel with that, building up that technical team and having it on board that we could introduce it, because my people that are working with me from Paladin, they're here not on a full-time basis, but on a basis of to have another adventure like we did in Paladin. So essentially, their old sort of part-time work to the amount necessary, rewarded with incentives, with sort of options and all of those things. And as things are more discovered or advanced, that work becomes a little bit like the more full-time. Well, a lot of the guys, I saw a movie yesterday or a couple of nights ago called Space Cowboys, I think it was, with Clint Eastwood and these old guys, and they're going up on space, and they did remarkable things. At my team, it reminds me of those guys. And so building up that team progressively, the environmental and the technical side and the sort of processing, geological, all of that has been an underlying achievement that has sort of grown with the project, and now we're ending up with almost a full sort of team, in the sense that it needs to grow, but we're ready to tackle the DFS side of things.
Yeah, and you're not wasting shareholder funds by bringing everybody on all at once.
Yes,
I think that is a very important point to make. John, it would be remiss of me if I didn't talk about the elephant in the room, which is, you've always said that you've got a dual strategy, and you did mention last year that you were going to make an acquisition.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, what happened is that, like Faulty Towers said, I wish I could run my hotel without people. And you have that sort of element, and you have a uranium environment is a little bit volatile. Oh yeah, it looks fantastic today, and it doesn't look good the next day. And so those things add COVID into it, although that didn't affect progress that much. But look, we have a bag full of opportunities, and that people want us to be associated. It also is, I've got to look at value to the shareholder. I've got to look at value where some of these projects I see tremendous upside in them, but something that I don't think is developable till 2028, 2030.
Oh, wow.
So you've got to look at how you integrate that, and when you acquire them in a sort of a time frame, because not all these projects are going to develop in 2023. I mean, it's just impossible to think so. You would think so by reading each individual. But they're all different, CapEx, OpEx, they're all different in terms of the regulatory regimes. And so they're going to come in, and what will guide them the most is uranium price.
Yeah.
So these have got, on an escalating uranium price going out to whatever you might say by 2030, they've got a natural position in that. And I just want to fill in those projects that are suitable at that time, and have this pipeline. But they're not here. Yes, you acquire them today, some of them to use in 5 years' time, 8 years' time, 10 years' time. And but that pipeline is really valuable. Look, we're really advanced in many of these things, but forget that's talk in the sense of, the cynic listening here, and they say, get it up and cover it off, and then you've got something. And why, why wouldn't they want to be associated with us? We give that project credibility if then we value it. We see it in a completely different way than their DFSs see it, because of the technologies we apply, we are comfortable applying, how we look at it, what we can get out of it. So there's a real value add. So it's not as if we're just acquiring a company, grabbing their DFS, and virtually with no sort of increment of value add in terms of what the company can do, and we as operator. It will happen. As I say, I wish we got something there last year, but let's see what the next sort of 6 months will bring. But it's a very important part of our strategy.
Let's talk barking gecko. I love this name. With Reptile, and now we've got barking gecko. Where do you come up with these names? It's such fun. Let's talk
imaginative geologists. Yeah, imaginative geologists, and so it's all full of lizards, snakes, and all of those sort of things out there. So barking gecko is a project on tenements adjacent to our Reptile, and in 4 years ago we got the Japanese to come in with us, and they farmed in with 4.5 million. The jog meg are the type of people where they're not operated, but they look for very good managements to be with them. And and the interesting thing is that even then, when everybody thought, Japan was not nuclear, or going out of it, there's the underlying body, strategic metals body, investing in uranium. So there was people there thought there was a future. Now with this latest prime minister here, they've gone now, look, we have to have nuclear. That's it. There's just kidding ourselves, and especially declaring the 50, 100, whatever it is, zero emission by 2050.
Yeah.
So on that, we were looking at more the basement type targets. We looked a little bit about like the Tumas type, and toward the end of the earning, we came across some fabulous intersections, or we discovered barking gecko, which is adjacent to about 45 million pounds of similar basement material we have on the 100% owned Reptile project. So this starts making a really interesting corridor. So we're at the beginning stages of drilling barking gecko. Now it's co-contributing. So we're contributing, Jogmeg are contributing, and Toro is a small partner in the group as well. And we're hoping that will also come up with some good value for our shareholders. Currently being drilled, by the way.
Is it along the same palaeochannel as?
No, it's not on a palaeochannel. So basically, the Tumas occurs within a channel which is incised into the basement. This is the crystalline rocks underneath, and so the Tumas type deposits are completely different, superficial deposits, and the Rossing and Husab type are a basement, hard rock in the rock, 100 to 200 meters deep, whereas our Tumas is about 30 to 20 meters deep, and in soft rock. And this is on a direct sort of linear zone extending Rossing, Husab, our Reptile basement projects, and into Barking Gecko. So we've identified quite a substantial thing which should be interesting as we report on this on the sideline.
Two more questions for you, John. First of all, Namibia, what's it like as a geopolitical area? Is it all good?
It's a jurisdiction that I think everybody would want to have a project in that country. Why? Well, that country has already proven that it supports uranium development. Rossing or Rio, now the Chinese have taken over that project, was started in the sort of late last century. I developed with Paladin Langer Heinrich in 2006, what I call a modern mine, because all the mines before that were in the pre-Chernobyl period. And then Husab developed and finished constructing that in 2016. So here's a country with a commitment, understanding. It knows how to deal with uranium. It's got processes there that look after everything from radioactivity to the normal mining issues, and there is a cup half full rather than a cup half empty attitude. And it's a good mining economy. So we think that in terms of, when price is right, you get everything ready, and which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our project ready for decision, to be shovel ready toward the end of 2022. And once that happens, we believe, we'll have the regulatory things be on board, the environmental side. So basically, the decision won't be delayed by another 4 years of regulatory sort of hoops and things like that. So it's a good country, and it's stable. It's good people, got good expertise in it, and they talk the language in a when you go into a country that has no uranium history, goodness, to start a new project in uranium, you've got regulatory issues to sort out. It's
a painful process. That's what I would say, John. So Namibia is a good place to start. John, final question for you. It's kind of on the supply side of things. We talked before about zero emissions by 2030. Uranium, I always say to people, it's a clean fuel source, but it's had its challenges on the price side. Do you see that the demand for uranium will be going up? Do you see that the price will be going up? Do you think that there will be a bit of a crunch on the supply side? Because I know that, Cigar Lake in Canada has closed down. What's your view on supply side? And
so on the supply, if I could just draw back a little bit on that question and look at what's happening in the world in terms of energy and the types of energy that are needed to support this ever-growing sort of fear of climate change, and now regarding this as almost an emergency. So it's becoming really clear that before this, the developing countries thought, well, look, we've got enough electricity and we don't see much growth in our future electricity because we're established, we've got our infrastructure there, and so on and so forth. And so everybody was looking at generation in terms of those developing countries like China, like India, like the Middle East, which are trying to transfer from one energy to the other, and Russia as being the hungry for electricity. And that was true. So then in the last 2-3 years, electric vehicles, oh yeah, we're going to have billions and trillions of petrol that come into our country, and we're just going to turn that energy equivalent into electricity to charge batteries to have, you know, the EV vehicles. And this means you have to almost, you know, double your electricity that you need to support not only that, but, you know, a whole lot of other things that electricity constantly invades and taking over other sort of systems. On top of that, you now have got the lithium battery and the hydrogen technology, which needs electricity in the sense of making it or heat. And all of a sudden, the real limitation, the daunting limitation of renewables on their own to meet this challenge is really becoming apparent. And blow me down, thank goodness, nuclear is there with all of the ingredients, the preeminent technology with zero emission, sustainable, dispatchable. It's going on for 50 years, you know, and it's really done well. And it's there to brother, but to brother. Renewables is a small sibling against what nuclear can deliver as a big scale system for more electricity safely. So at once, nuclear is taking the moral high ground, can be taking it. It's in a different context, and there's realization throughout the world. Now we come back to supply, your question. There is a supply crunch happening, both because it's been identified that there's a shortfall, and it's been identified that you know, there's been inventories there, people are getting complacent, nobody's investing in new developments, and nobody can at these sort of uranium prices that are unsustainable.
Yeah.
And you need your prices to be, you know, really as an industry, $60 plus to reward, to replace your reserves, all of those things. And there's a huge disconnect between supply and those things that are needed to nurture that to the consumers, the utilities, who think, oh, well, we're getting this stuff cheap all the time. So, you know, and there's no pity in industries. They'll just take it to the last ounce until the industry just falters. And it is in that stage. So we are looking at, you know, that the supply crunches will happen more in the well, the price reaction will be, I reckon, about 12 months away.
Yeah.
And people have been harking on that, you know, it's going to be yesterday, it was going to be 8 months ago. And of course, as we were saying before, the utilities are complacent. They don't think there's going to be a shortage. But
until there is.
Until there is, and that's what will happen. And it's really obvious. And a lot of the projects can't be developed in terms of at prices that are sort of there. And a lot of people that have got their DFSs can't even produce at those prices they're saying. So you need higher prices to get this industry energized. And I think this is where Deep Yellow really fits in well. You know, I mean, we're pricing it realistically. We're not there to say, oh, you know, this is what it is. And well, you got to believe it's just because the number, somebody says, oh, that company says it can do it for that. Well, good luck to them. I know what we can do it at. And that's the basis to proceed on. And so, look, I think that everybody will benefit in the uranium industry, everybody, as uranium price goes up. And but, you know, which are the ones that are actually going to get there and deliver, you know, individuals have got to think about.
Well, John Borshoff, I could talk to you for another hour. I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the near future. What a fantastic announcement you had today. And ladies and gentlemen, you better watch this space. The ASX code is DYL. John Borshoff is leading the charge. And as I said at the start, he's back, ever the contrarian. John Borshoff, what a delight to talk with you today. Good luck with the DFS. And I look forward to watching Deep Yellow with great intent, and all the best for the future. We'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Kerry. It's enjoyable, and I'll look forward to next time.